Welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us. I'm Linda Ogutu. Our sign language interpreter at the bottom end of your screen is Meresha Oweti. We begin with a stalemate in the education sector. The government has announced vacancies for 70,000 teachers after teachers' unions defied a court order to call off the 4-week strike that has paralyzed learning in all Kenyan public schools. The Teacher Service Commission says it is advertising the post of relief teachers for a period of 3 months.
In a letter dated 29 September, the Teacher Service Commission said it was advertising 70,000 posts of relief teachers, 50,000 primary and 20,000 secondary, for a period of 3 months to alleviate the effects of the current teacher shortage in the country. The teachers will be hired on a 3-month contract and will thereafter be considered on priority basis for employment and on permanent terms when vacancies arise, reads the letter by the TSC's Chief Executive Officer Nancy Macharia. Eligible candidates should be Kenyan citizens aged 45 and below and have original professional and academic certificates and be registered as a teacher as per Section 23 of the Teacher Service Commission Act. For primary schools, applicants must be holders of a P1 certificate and for secondary a diploma in education. The recruitment drive will be done at county level. All applicants are required to submit their applications to the TSC county directors of their respective home counties not later than the 5th of October. The Commission cautioned applicants against fraudsters who would extort money as the exercise is free and against filling forms in more than one station. The announcement by the TSC is set to appear in local dailies Thursday, but it is already drawing mixed reactions from Kenyans across the divide. It comes 4 weeks into the teacher strike that has attracted endless court battles. The fate of the striking teachers now hangs in the balance, both parties relentless. Currently, there are 288,000 teachers employed by the TSC. How fast the Commission can get 70,000 to provide relief is another matter, but still isn't a permanent solution to the education crisis. Dorcas Wangira, KTN News.
70,000 teachers, that's the number that TSA is hoping to hire for 3 months. And you're asking one of our big question tonight. Do you support the hiring of new teachers for 3 months? TSC is hiring 70,000. It's hiring 70,000 teachers for 3 months. We're asking you if you support that move to hire new teachers for 3 months. You can tweet us at KTN News. You can tweet me directly at Linda Ogutu. And of course, you can send a short message to the number 22155. That SMS line is absolutely free for you. Let us know what you think. I'd love to sample your views, even as a TSA seeks to recruit these additional teachers. Now let's stay with that story. And lawyers representing the Teacher Service Commission now argue that the Industrial Court lacked the jurisdiction to issue the landmark Teacher Salary Award. The lawyers now want this award cancelled. And as Sharon Momanyi now reports, the judge who issued this award is being accused of disregarding advice from the Treasury. Sharon Momanyi has the details.
1561. While making submissions during the appeal hearing Wednesday morning, Attorney General Githu Muigai contended that Justice Nduma Nderi misdirected himself by not heeding to what the AG termed as wise counsel.
The Republic contends that he would have had, in addition to the wages guidelines referred to by my learned friend, he would have been compelled to take into account the expert testimony of the Treasury, which is in charge of the budget of the Republic of Kenya.
The AG and TSC's lawyers Fred Ngatia and Geoffrey Obura argued that the ruling by the Industrial Court was unconstitutional and illegal. Their main argument being that the judge did not follow legally set procedures, including getting counsel from the SRC, wages guidelines from the Employment and Labor Relations Act, as well as counsel from the Ministry of Finance.
One of the important functions of the Industrial Court is to ensure that the government policy as laid down in the guidelines for the determination of wages awards is strictly complied with by trade unions and the employers in the country. And he goes further at paragraph 238 of his judgment and insinuates that he has relied on those guidelines and also the guidelines by SRC in making its determination. Yet that was far from it.
Every coin to pay any teacher in this republic, every coin to do anything by TSC must originate from Parliament and follow that process of ultimately going to National Treasury and then from National Treasury to TSC, the votes of TSC. Funds do not move, fortunately, in track roads, they move as a vote. The way the judge dismissed the role of SRC, finding as he did that TSC was under no obligation, he said, to take any advice from SRC was a clear misrepresentation of the Constitution and was a grave error of law.
The AG further argued that Justice Ndumanderi's description of the matter as an economic dispute is not recognized anywhere in law, stating that it was absolutely not in the court's place to issue such an award.
The judgment will have amended the Constitution to say, Parliament shall annually appropriate such funds as, in its wisdom, it may desire, except as courts of law from time to time may direct.
The appeal was heard by a 5-judge bench, up from a 3-judge bench as per the teachers' union's request. On Tuesday, the teachers lost their bid to overhaul the appeal court judges hearing their case, accusing them of being controlled by the presidency. Last Friday, Employment and Labor Relations Court Judge Nelson Abwotha suspended the strike for 90 days, but the teachers would not do this until TSC withdraws the appeal. TSC would hear none of that, and now the appeal case ruling holds all the cards of the bitter standoff. It is a ruling that the entire country awaits with bated breath. Will the pay rise award be upheld or will it be overruled? The hearing continues Thursday. Sharon Momanyi, KTN News, Nairobi.
So some of the people who are waiting with bated breath are indeed the candidates and the students. The anxiety of candidates of national examinations cannot be overstressed, even as we witness innovative ways of countering the effects of the ongoing teachers' strike. And pupils of a school in central Kenya are counting their blessings as the local businessman volunteers to help them revise for the examinations. KTN News, Carol Nderi reports.
With pupils now counting days before sitting for their KCPE examination, many are now burning the midnight oil in an attempt to make up for lost time, especially during this third term in the wake of the teachers' strike. At the DEB Muslim Primary School in Nyeri Town, as in other public schools, classes are virtually empty. Except for those occupied by Standard 8 candidates, here at DEB Muslim we find the Standard 8 pupils in session, going through the motions of revision. While we assume that the man standing in front of them is a teacher, we are surprised to learn that he's just a volunteer.
Yes.
A businessman who sets aside some time when he can to teach these students whom he says are innocent and have been caught up in the tug of war between the teachers and the government. Kennedy Maina is an alumni of this school, and that is why he chose to volunteer here.
Nikazi tu kutoka kwa roho yangu niwasaidie ili wapate alama mzuri.
He is not a trained teacher and is uncertain of the demands of the syllabus, but his contribution, he says, is to help these candidates prepare by going through other KCPE sample papers. He helps them in mathematics and science at no pay at all.
They will be prominent people and help to the society.
Ramadan Mwai Mohammed is preparing to sit for KCPE as any other candidate. He laments about the absence of teachers. That term should have been the term for final preparations with his teachers.
Jengo nyumbani, wengine wanakaa tu wanaboeka, wanapatiwa makazi kwa sababu tu ya hao watu walipagi. Sasa hao watu walipagi wanataka Kenya ikuwe mzuri. Sasa Kenya kesho sisi ndio tutakuwa.
The people say they are innocent in all this.
You are just given the papers and then you revise for yourself.
Uko library, unachukua vitabu kidogo na revise. Lakini sisi tungependa tu walimu kwa sababu wao ndio wanatujua.
The situation is similar in Gangaridi Secondary School, only that here there are no volunteers and the KCSE candidates have to study by themselves.
Kuna changamoto nyingi, haswa wakati tunaporuhusu kwa kuna zile sehemu ambazo tutapata ni gumu, tutahitaji mwalimu akaweza kusaidia.
We shall never be divided.
As the teachers continue to battle it out with the government, the students continue to suffer the most and will obviously have a difficult time making up for lost time. And as the teachers' strike continues to take a toll on the students who have been caught up in the tug of war between the teachers and the government, they can only hope that an amicable solution will be arrived at sooner rather than later. Carol Derry, KTN News, Nyeri.
Let's see how this plays out in the coming days. We're keeping an eye on it for you. Let's cross borders now. Tanzania's opposition coalition UKAWA is accusing the National Elections Commission of not ensuring a free and fair election. UKAWA cites the failure of the commission to allow political parties to scrutinize the voter registration as one of the reasons for their accusation. UKAWA candidate Edward Lowassa was placed at second position in a recent opinion poll in Tanzania after ruling party CCM's John Magufuli. Take a look.
It was a rather quiet day on the campaign trail here in Tanzania ahead of the October 25th, 2015 general election, with the Chama cha Mapinduzi CCM presidential candidate John Magufuli having light campaigns in Dodoma province, and the campaign team of the opposition coalition UKAWA presidential candidate Edward Lowassa are choosing to have a rest day Wednesday with the aim of resuming the campaigns tomorrow, that is Thursday, here in Dar es Salaam. That is not to say that it was a slow day by any stretch of the imagination. The opposition coalition UKAWA have now criticized the National Elections Commission under the chairmanship of retired Judge Justice Damian Lubuva, saying that they are not satisfied that the October 25th elections will be free and fair. Addressing the press in Dar es Salaam, top delegate of the UKAWA coalition, John Nyika, cited among other things this transfer, what he called unexplained transfer of top information technology officials at the National Elections Commission.
Sasa kama kweli Jaji Lubuva na tume wanataka uchaguzi uwe huru na haki, basi watangaze mara moja kukubali vyama, maana anasema vyama visubiri mwishoni, ndio wataalamu wa vyama waende mwishoni. Akubali kuanzia sasa kuonyesha huo mfumo mzima software ya ukusanyaji wa matokeo, na sisi kupitia kwa wataalamu wa vyama vyetu vya UKAWA tukauchambua huo mfumo. Je, uko unatoa matokeo halali au mfumo wenyewe unaiba kura?
The National Elections Commission has been able to register some 23.7 million voters for the October 25th polls, a positive for the Elections Commission. But UKAWA, that is another bone of contention for UKAWA. UKAWA accused the National Elections Commission of not allowing them and other political parties to be able to scrutinize the preliminary voter register ahead of the elections.
Katika chaguzi zilizopita, ili uchaguzi uwe huru na haki, tume ilikuwa inalichukua hilo daftari, inaweka kwenye hard disk. Kila chama cha siasa kinakabidhiwa nakala ya daftari lote la wapiga kura. Mpaka tunavyozungumza hivi sasa, upande wetu wa UKAWA hatuja kabidhiwa hilo daftari la kudumu la wapiga kura. Kwa maneno mengine, hizi figa wanazosema kuna watu 300,000 wameondolewa, kuna watu 52,000 wamejiandikisha zaidi ya mara moja, kuna idadi so and so ya wapiga kura yote imebainika, haziwezi kuaminika na hazipaswi kuaminika mpaka tume itakapotoa daftari la kudumu la wapiga kura na kukabidhi vyama.
The National Elections Commission will be meeting news editors in Dar es Salaam tomorrow, and we expect the chairman, retired Justice Damien Lubuva, to address some of these issues raised by the opposition coalition UKAWA. UKAWA clearly not satisfied with the National Elections Commission. John Mika even sensationally urging supporters of UKAWA to not leave the polling stations after casting their ballot on the 25th of October during the polls, something that he says is not against the Tanzanian law.
Sasa Jaji Lubuva anasema ukishapiga kura rudi nyumbani. Naomba tu kutoa mwito kwa vijana wa Tanzania na wote waliokuwa wamejiandaa kwamba wakishapiga kura wafuatilie hatima ya kura zao, waipuuze kauli hii ya Jaji Lubuva na badala yake waanze kujiandaa kuanzia sasa. Hii tarehe 25 Oktoba wakishapiga kura wawe na wasaa wa kufuatilia kwa karibu vituoni. Hapa tunadili na chama dola, state party. Katika situation kama hii ambayo kule mlikuwa nayo ya KANU kwa state party, manake ni nini? Mkimwacha wakala mmoja peke yake, either atahongwa, kama apendi kuhongwa atakuwa na uthabiti, atatishwa, kama atishiki atatafutiwa kosa ili achomolewe nje ya kituo. Na sheria inasema zoezi la uchaguzi halisimami kuhesabu kama eti wakala wa chama fulani hayupo. Kwa sababu wanajua wanataka kufanya nini. Sisi tunaamini katika falsafa ya nguvu ya umma, tutabidi tuwalinde mawakala wetu.
So barely 25 days to voting day here in Tanzania, and after a few days of relative quiet here in Dar es Salaam, the presidential campaign is set to return to the commercial capital on Thursday, with the UKAWA coalition candidate Edward Lowassa set to address a total of 3 political rallies here. That is on Thursday. Ben Kitili, KTN News, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania.
Let's stay in Tanzania. The Chama cha Mapinduzi presidential candidate John Pombe Magufuli stepped up his hunt for votes in Dodoma province. Magufuli vowed to work with the residents to end poverty in the area and improve the region's economy. Magufuli was accompanied by former Prime Minister Justice Joseph Warioba in Dodoma. Warioba urged the youth in Tanzania to be involved in governance issues and to support their candidate.
Nataka pia niwahakikishie kwanza uchungu wa mke ukishapata mbegu nikishachaguliwa kuwa rais wa Jamhuri ya Muungano wa Tanzania, nitayafunga mapigano yanayoendelea hapa kati ya kitaifa na ninaposema nasema ukweli. Haiwezekani kabila moja tu ndio likawa linakufa. Haiwezekani. Ninawaomba makabila yote tuishi kwa amani. Tumechoka kuzika, tumechoka kuumizana. Nitalisimamia kwa nguvu zangu zote. Kwa viongozi nitakao wateua, awe mkuu wa mkoa, awe mkuu wa wilaya, awe katibu tarafa, siku kwenye sehemu yake pametokea mapigano, awe OCD, awe RPC, siku hiyo kazi anaondoka nayo.
Right, so the Teacher Service Commission is hiring 70,000 teachers for the next 3 months. It forms the basis of our big question tonight. We're asking you if you support that move by TSC to hire the teachers for 3 months. Mkamba Mkenya says Education life for our children must continue, and Sosion and teachers must know it. TSC, you have my full support. Dexter Galaxy says, if that's the permanent solution, I support it. Sylvia Debate says, if I was jobless, qualified teacher, I wouldn't apply for the job, since what Sosion is doing would benefit me more in future. Cynthia Indakuli says, no, that's a short-term solution, because at some point they'll still ask for a pay rise. Finally, Nick Nganga says, exams must be done regardless of strike. Let the relief teachers assist in this task. Your feedback on our big question tonight, whether or not you support the hiring of new teachers by TSC. You're watching KTN Prime. Thank you for staying with us. We are taking a break, but I'll be back with more news. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with KTN Prime. Let's focus on security in Somalia now. The Somali Police Force is developing a new policing model to promote its structures and operations. This follows a consultative workshop intended to pave way for a safe environment in the country.
Representatives of the interim regional administrations, the United Nations Police and the African Union Mission in Somalia attended the three-day consultative workshop organized through the support of the United Nations Assistance Mission in Somalia. Discussions in the workshop were aimed to result in an effective force ready to confront the policing realities facing Somalia. In his remarks, the Commissioner of the Somali Police Force, Major General Mohammed Sheikh Hamoud, said if adopted, the new policing model will enhance national and regional peace.
Our main concern is the stability of Somalia is part of the stability of the East Africa. And the stability of East Africa is part of the stability of the whole Africa and the whole world. Now, the world is having only one enemy, that is the terrorist. So while we are dealing with our own domestic problems, we are also sharing with our international partners and the neighboring countries the same fighting terrorists. So that's why we want to have one police, coordinated, integrated, under one commandership, but have two levels of federal level and regional level.
According to Mr. Hans Wanderstein, the senior police advisor to the United Nations Assistance Mission in Somalia, the workshop sought technical advice from the Somali police on a model that would be most appropriate to the Somalia situation.
It's an historic step because, first of all, we bring together people from all over Somalia. It's not that easy, so we bring them together. And what is important is that is the first step to come to a final new policing model for Somalia, so that the police will be able to serve and to protect, and we will be able to be a professional force for the Somali citizen and the Somali society.
Recommendations from the workshop will be forwarded to the political leadership for approval before it is adopted by the federal government of Somalia. Michelle Ngele, KTN News.
The Catholic Church is set to receive Pope Francis when he visits Kenya in November. The Church says Pope Francis will be appraised of the issues affecting Kenya, which include the war against terror.
Pope Francis will make his first trip to Africa in November. He plans to visit Kenya, Uganda, and the Central African Republic. The pilgrimage will bring him face to face with Islamic extremism and Christian-Muslim violence on the continent. On a courtesy call to Standard Group, Catholic Bishop Alfred Rotich said preparations to receive the Pope are at an advanced stage.
It will be a blessed time for Kenya and especially to the 14 million Catholics. The Pope, in his apostolic voyage to Kenya, brings in a message of blessings, message of hope, and message of reconciliation to the peoples of Kenya and to the peoples of Eastern Africa.
Kenya last received a visit from a pope in September 1995 when Pope John Paul II was here.
His coming really is to give us a message of hope and to share with us in solidarity in times of when we have gone through low points, and the high points, he's saying we are truly human one human family.
And with world global leaders working towards the achievement of sustainable global goals, education remains a key challenge, with Kenya grappling with an ongoing extended strike by teachers in public schools.
Sobriety, as we discuss issues that seem to challenge us, and as a church we are always available when consulted, so as to do the arbitration and in a sober manner, because what concerns the child really is our concern.
Earlier this year in April, Pope Francis mentioned Kenya during his Easter prayers after Al-Shabaab terrorists killed 148 people at the Garissa University College. And after the recent terror activities experienced in the country, Bishop Rotich is confident that Kenyans from all walks of life will continue to embrace peace.
And once that ambience has been created, already people can see peace. So that what translates to governance is really coming from peace. And peace, as I say again, is a product of justice. And where there is love, where there is accommodation, you will see people coming and homing together.
It has been a busy and rich year for Kenya. She has seen visits from top world leaders. For example, when Italian Prime Minister Matteo Renzi visited early July, right before Obama's big visit to the continent. And now the world will have to turn their eyes yet again to Kenya on December as she hosts the World Trade Organization Ministerial Conference. For KTN News, I'm Zinzi Kibiku.
You're watching KTN Prime. We thank you for staying with us. We're taking a short break, and when we come back, Joy Doreen Bira will be looking at the day's business news, including that report that says Kenya's economy slowed down. Stay with us.
Thank you for keeping it KTN. Time now for business. I'm Joy Doreen Bira. Kenya's economy slowed down marginally in the second quarter of the year, posting 5.5% growth during the 3-month period. Now, this compared to the 6% growth registered in 2014. According to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics data, a slowdown in construction, manufacturing and financial sectors put the brakes on economic growth, but there was a ray of light from the agriculture sector, which expanded. The manufacturing sector expanded by 4.5% during the quarter, and a review compared to a growth of 8.3% during the second quarter of 2014, while growth in the construction sector decelerated from 16.6% to 9.9%, contributing significantly to the lower growth figures. And the agricultural sector, however, showed positive signs, growing by 5.4% compared to 2.1% last year. The second quarter numbers came as statistics body also announced that September inflation was up slightly to 5.97% from August of 5.84%. The Nairobi Securities Exchange Board has formally appointed Centum Chief Executive James Moria as a non-executive director. Moria, who was elected back in June, replaces former Uchumi Supermarket CEO Jonathan Siano, who stepped down. He joins the 11-member board that includes Chairman Edin Njoroge, Vice Chairman Bob Karina and Jim Nambaru. Centum has been on a hot streak over the past 2 years, diversifying its investments in equities to focus on large infrastructure projects. The firm is part of consortium behind the 980-megawatt coal power plant in Lamu and is part shareholder in geothermal firm Akira. On this week's edition of The Adventurer, KTN's Charles Gitonga brings you the story of an entrepreneur turning waste into cash. In 2013, Julie Church took her passion of cleaning up the environment and saw an opportunity to raise awareness of the threat pollution poses by making sculptures with waste materials. 2 years down the line, Ocean Soul has an annual turnover of 35 million Kenya shillings, and the word is slowly getting out. Have a look.
Welcome to The Adventurer, and this week it's all about how conservation meets art and business. Having been a maritime conservationist, our entrepreneur is now using her business to send a message of conservation to the world. Let's see how.
My name is Julie Church. I'm Kenyan, fourth generation, and lived in Kenya along the coast, worked elsewhere, and set up Ocean Soul. At Ocean Soul, we basically recycle flip-flop waste and create it into pieces of art, sculptures, jewelry. We used to do stationery, just a variety of products that are each handmade. Yeah, my background is in marine conservation, and when I was working on the border of Kenya and Somalia, running a marine conservation and development project at the Kiunga Marine National Reserve with WWF and KWF, I was sort of trying to look after the turtles that were nesting on the beach, and all this waste was coming up. And I saw the children making their toys from the waste. So they'd make boats and aeroplanes with sticks and thorns. And I thought, oh, that's an interesting idea. How can we merge conservation and development?
And Africa?
I invested, I think, initially about 100,000 shillings just to set up the business, get the trademark. And the general idea initially was that we would continue working with a community on the coast that I'd worked with, and that they would make products and we would sell them. That was initially the business model. That definitely changed over time due to operations and logistics.
Okay. And how big is your business at the moment?
We are recycling about 1,000 kilos of flip-flops a week. We are selling most of our products internationally. We made a plan to sell to zoos and aquariums and museum shops, and we targeted America because there's a trade agreement between America and Kenya, so there's no sort of tax. And we are now selling up to 35 million shillings worth of products a year. Our aim is to expand on that, obviously, because the more we sell, the more we recycle, the more people we can employ.
Tell me about some of the challenges in this business.
So just to create this hippo, we've used 5 to 6 flip-flops. Okay, we've had to build up the block, and then we've had to cut it out. So that in itself, and getting the product to look really good, to actually stand out and compete in the global market of products which are made in China cheaply, right, has been a massive challenge. And the other challenge is getting to our market. We're in East Africa and our market is America. And depending if the orders are small, you know, getting our product to the marketplace is a challenge. So we've been always reaching out to find distributors in America who would take our product and act as our, you know, liaison on the ground, connecting with the zoos and the museums and everything else. Because some orders are quite small, and when you send them from Kenya, they get very expensive by the time they reach there.
Governments and conservation organizations world over are seeing such a huge obstacle when it comes to achieving a cleaner environment. But for Julie Church, all of this trash translates into money in the bank. Charles Gitonga for The Adventurer.
Thanks, Charles, for that. Turning trash into cash by preserving the ocean as well. Great one right there. And well, that marks the end of KTN Business. My name is Joy Doreen Bira. Up next is Lynn Washira with all the sporting action.
A very good evening to you wherever you're watching us from, and welcome to tonight's edition of KTN Sports. My name is Lynn Washura. Kicking off the bulletin in matters rugby, where an almost new-look Kenya Sevens team will be in action at this weekend Safari Sevens tournament with 9 experienced players, including Collins Injera, out with injuries. Head coach Benjamin Ayimba, however, expressed confidence that the players called to the 2 Kenyan teams, Morans and Shuja, will put up a good show. This weekend's Safari Sevens tournament will see most experienced players take a backseat and watch as new faces take to the pitch at the Safaricom Kasarani Stadium.
We've got a lot of surprises. The older guys, we've got quite a few injuries. Eight senior players are injured. It's a blessing in disguise, so to speak, because we then have the opportunity to look at what the younger players can do under pressure.
Collins Injera, Dennis Ombachi, Lavina Segwen, Dancy Kuta, Leonard Mugaisi, as well as Billy Odhiambo are some of the key players who will miss the 20th edition of the Safari Sevens that will be crucial as a build-up for the Rio Olympics qualifiers.
Not really worried about what they can do. It is the younger guys that we know how they would operate under pressure, and we need to get that sorted before we can include them in the squad.
KCB's Andrew Amonde will captain the Shuja team, with William Baka and Biko Adema bringing in experience, while Eden Aguero will captain Morans, as Tony Onyango and Bush Mwale expected to bridge the gap between the experience and the new players.
Yes, Safari Sevens is very important, and we're out here to get the best for our fans. For me as a coach, I'm looking at trying to get 1 or 2 of those very good players, those young players who can come step up on the plate and say we are here to be counted for the next big task.
While naming the team, head coach Benjamin Ayimba remained confident that the teams named will put up a good show.
So, a delicate balancing act, but we've got to look for younger players who've not played as long in those tournaments.
2016 Olympics host Brazil, Australia Icons and Samurai International are among the teams that have already arrived for the weekend rugby festival. And well, Kenya hopes to send a strong contingent to the Rio Games in 2016. Kenya bagged several medals in different weight categories, of course in the wrestling sport at the All-African Games in Congo-Brazzaville, and the side hopes the good performance will act as a springboard for better results in the sport. Hassan Juma reports.
Wrestling as a sport in the country has had its own share of difficult times. The sport that had over the years been relegated to the villages where participants play it for fun is now taking root in the country.
Kila mahali, lakini vile sasa they're not practicing the real wrestling. Wanafanya wrestling ambayo kwamba ni Olympic, wanafanya ile tradition.
Kenya sent a strong contingent to Congo-Brazzaville, and the fruits are there for all to see. Despite the challenges that condemn the sport to the periphery compared to established countries.
In Kenya probably started late. So if we change the type of training, we go out, you have several coaches of freestyle, Greco-Roma, we are gambling,
And having tested success in the All-Africa Games, all eyes are now fully focused on the Rio de Janeiro Olympics, where Kenya hopes to send a strong team.
I see myself there, and before nifike pale, I would really love nipate support from the government. First of all, the government has to put it. If they want to kwenda Rio, sisi tunadupati yetu, we train a lot.
Ingeweza kutusaidia pia kwenda kufanya mazoezi na wengine wenzetu wana train kwa camps kule nchi tofauti. Mount nyingine Senegal, nyingine France, wana train pamoja na kupata new rules na new techniques. Tungeweza kupata nini kama hiyo, opportunity kama hiyo, ingekuwa nzuri zaidi.
The wrestlers have a chance to qualify for the games through the continental qualification in Algiers in the first week of April, the World Tournament in Istanbul, Turkey, or the Mongolia qualifiers in mid-May. They hope they'll get the necessary recognition from their employers and hope sponsors will come on board and improve the sport in the country. Hassan Juma, KTN Sports.
Association with more team do.
No longer, because I bought Mortin Doom Power Guard, which kills 100% mosquitoes. Mortin Doom Power Guard kills 100% mosquitoes.
So do you support the move by TSC to hire 70,000 additional teachers for 3 months? That was our big question tonight. Let me see if I can sample some of your views. Dennis Asikoyo says, what a big joke. TSC purporting to replace over 200,000 teachers with 70,000. Let's be serious for once. Norbert Amare says, and what happens after the 3 months? Kasam Elvis says, the current deficit stands at over 50,000 teachers. Fire over 250,000, employ 70,000. Quality of education with a question mark. Long-term skills. Bryant David finally says, was the 3-month pay for makeshift teachers budgeted for? TSC is being insincere. Your feedback on our big question tonight. We thank you for watching KTN Prime. That's where we leave it. Have a good night. I'm Linda Ogutu.